Walk through any international transit hub and you will see a wide spectrum of human variation. We look different, we speak different languages, and we organize our lives around completely divergent daily customs. To see how vast that spectrum really is, consider how communities celebrate. Among the Maasai people in Kenya, cultural identity is expressed through highly active communal rituals where men leap into the air together. Now compare that vibrant public display to the quiet, private domestic rituals observed elsewhere, like these two children gently lighting small oil lamps to celebrate Diwali. When confronted with these massive differences across communities, our brains try to simplify things. We are hardwired to categorize what we see, which often leads to viewing the world strictly through our own default cultural lens. But human diversity is not a random, chaotic jumble of traits. What we are actually looking at is a collection of highly specific, localized engineering to ensure our species survives. The primary catalysts driving us to diverge from one another are the places we inhabit. The local climate, the terrain, and the available natural resources act as the foundational forces that shape human populations. Few places test human adaptability quite like the extreme environment of the Arctic. Surviving in sub-zero temperatures requires highly specialized solutions. The Inuit people developed distinct biological and physical traits specifically to withstand this cold. They also relied on heavily insulated traditional clothing, like these thick fur parkas, to trap body heat against the freezing wind. That same harsh geography dictated their early cultural practices. They had to invent highly specialized hunting techniques and resource management strategies to find food in an environment largely devoid of vegetation. In this context, early cultural traits and physical differences make sense. They are biological solutions engineered to solve highly specific geographic problems. As early humans migrated across the globe, they eventually settled into geographically isolated pockets. This physical separation historically fractured singular populations into disconnected groups. That isolation bred profound linguistic diversity. For example, the Quechua language evolved among populations living in the high, remote altitudes of the Andes, developing several distinct dialects tailored to the communities scattered across those specific mountains. Fascinated, this brings us to a concept known as linguistic relativism. This theory suggests that every language acts as a repository of historical knowledge, encoding the specific thought processes and values of its speakers. This animated diagram illustrates how linguistic structures alter our perception of abstract concepts. On the left, an English speaker maps a timeline moving from left to right. On the right, we see a language with a different spatial orientation, mapping time from front to back, placing the known past in front of them and the unknown future behind. When a language dies, we lose an entirely unique psychological architecture for viewing reality, a specific way of perceiving time and space that took thousands of years to construct. Our environments shape our physical bodies, but through the evolution of diverse languages, they also build the fundamental architecture of our minds. Over generations, these early physical and linguistic adaptations scale up into complex societies. They form the basis for localized economies, rigid status hierarchies, and elaborate social norms. We can see how collective identity physically takes shape by looking at community-driven events. In Pariaman, Indonesia, massive crowds gather to carry the tall tabuk ritual structures through the streets, requiring immense social organization and cooperation. Compare that to a cross-cultural counterpart on a different continent. On a beach in Salvador da Bahia, Brazil, crowds dress in traditional blue and white attire to carry a statue of Iemanjá to the sea. Completely different environments yield wildly divergent practices to satisfy similar social needs. Anthropologists navigate these differences using a core scientific framework called cultural relativism. This is the rule that no culture is inherently superior or inferior to another. Using this relativistic lens, researchers can study behaviors objectively. They view these customs strictly as perfectly adapted responses to specific historical and environmental stimuli. Cultural differences are never deviations from a correct standard. They are simply equally valid formulas for successfully organizing a human society. After thousands of years of evolving in isolated pockets, human populations are now experiencing rapid globalization. Distinct cultures and languages are mixing at a high rate. This collision creates a practical asset. Because different environments produce diverse logic, globalized teams draw on wider problem-solving strategies for innovation. We see this in governance. By applying diverse cultural perspectives to a central core, governments design inclusive policies that serve entire populations. Attempting to force homogenization or a single monoculture does the exact opposite. It actively strips humanity of the diverse problem-solving strategies we spent millennia developing. The vast tapestry of human diversity provides the essential variety needed for our species to adapt to whatever environment we build next.